Hello and welcome to Fitzdare's World of Sport in association with Boodles. Check them out at boodles.com. It's episode 9. I'm your host Adrian Clark, and coming up on today's show, ahead of horse racing's most prestigious meeting at Royal Ascot, Adam Mills stops by from Total Performance Data to give us the lowdown on the horses to look out for. 5 of the last 6 winners of the US Open at Oakmont had never won a major before. So outside a hot favourite Scotty Scheffler, we discuss who to look out for in Pennsylvania. And it's Club World Cup time. But aside from Gianni Infantino, does anybody really care? We'll also talk a bit of F1 in what should be another absolutely stacked Fitzdare's World of Sports. If you're over 18 and love your sport like we do, brilliant. If you also have an interest in sports betting, then this might just be the podcast for you. Never gamble more than you can shrug off losing if you accidentally put your wallet in the washing machine, though. That is our mantra, and it's a pretty good one. Remember, 18 plus, please bet responsibly, and remember, gambleaware.org. Welcome along to episode 9. We missed her last week, but rest easy. Lola Roberts is with us. Hello.
Hi, Clarkey.
Yeah,
I'm very glad to be back.
Yeah, no, we're glad to have you back with Tales from Budapest. It's a stag-weary Henry Beasley. Come on then. No one's listening. Spill the beans. Was it good?
It was a very, very good weekend, yeah. Very restorative, very relaxing.
Memorable?
In a sense.
He tried to make out that they went to the spa and it was all very nice, but I'm not having it at all. And today we're delighted to welcome Adam Mills from Total Performance Data into the fold. Hello, Adam.
Hi, Clark.
How you doing? Yeah, no, it's brilliant to have you with us. So in sort of layman's terms, can you tell us what you guys do first up?
Okay, so I guess the way to describe what we do is we watch horse racing, which being paid to watch racing is a dream. Couldn't be happier. Best career move I ever made. But what Total Performance Data do is we watch the replay of a video and we watch a horse race, and then we'll tell you why something happened. Why did that horse win the race? Why didn't that horse win the race? What were the attributes that meant this horse might win again? Or what reasons do you think this horse might not win again? And it's really just to add some context. I always say I wear glasses because my eyes don't work. So that's what Total Performance Data does, is our job is to look at a horse race and tell you why your eyes may not be telling you the whole truth.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Sounds good, doesn't it? I think we've got the right person in the studio then ahead of Royal Ascot. Before we get stuck into that, Henry, Carlos Alcaraz. You must have been sweating though. I mean, basically, for anyone that hasn't been listening or watching in recent weeks, all Henry's been banging on about is Carlos Alcaraz is going to beat Yannick Sinner in the French Open final, lump on. And ultimately, you were proved right.
Never in doubt, was it, Clarkey?
What a final.
Unbelievable. And I actually was flying back from Budapest, so I missed it in real time. But I've caught up on the highlights, and a modern day classic, they're calling it, aren't they? It was right up there with Federer and Nadal, Wimbledon 2008, Djokovic, Nadal, Australian Open 2012. Yeah, it's one of the best Grand Slam finals I think we've seen for many, many years.
There was a few moments where I thought it was done and dusted, not just in the 4th set, but actually when the momentum swung in the 5th set and Alcaraz broke Sinner in the first game, I was like, it's done. How do you mentally come back from that? And then suddenly we're in a tiebreaker. So it was unbelievable.
You got a good stat, haven't you?
Yes. I consulted Mr. Odds Oracle, Jonathan Smith, about the exact probability of a Carlos Alcaraz comeback in the 4th set when he was 5-3 and love 40 down. And let me get this right, because Jonathan is a very precise man, and I think our listeners will appreciate this. So for Alcaraz to come back, he would have had to hold from love 40, break Sinner's serve, win the set from that point, and go on to win the final set. Can anyone guess what the probability of that?
Massive price. Come on, Lola.
So it was a 0.0086 chance, which translates to 116 to 1. So Henry, if only you'd had the courage and your convictions and hung around for a better price.
If only.
21 to 20, wasn't he?
I had to work pretty hard for my 21 to 20 poke, but we got there in the end.
Yeah, he only got trimmed into 4 to 5 on the day, didn't he? But 116 to 1. I don't think many people would have gone down that route. Right, let's get to Royal Ascot, shall we? I mean, first up, Adam, before we get to the specific races, is there anything about the track or the type of horse that tends to do pretty well at Royal Ascot?
there are certain stats that we can look at around kind of the sire and the breeding of the horse, but Ascot is quite a unique test, particularly on the straight course. There's no bend for a lot of the big field races, so that effectively should give you a better chance. There is a draw bias at times, but no one knows what that is. And you can think on a Tuesday, you think, everything drawn low wins. So on the Wednesday, as normally happens to me, I think, I'll plough into everything that's drawn low, and everything drawn the first race, it's all 26 beats 25. So they do water the track, they change the track to try and make it as fair as possible. But the best thing with a straight course is it's point and shoot. If your horse runs in a straight line, it's likely to get a fair run. And if the horse is fit enough and good enough, then it's going to win. A little bit different on the longer races around the bends, where you kind of want to try and focus on horses that have a bit of early speed, can get into the right position. Around the turn, the straight is relatively short. It's around 2 furlongs. Not as much time to make up ground from the back. And if you do, you've got to come hard and late around the outside. So you need a very good horse. We saw that last year. Calandagan did it coming right round the outside, but there's an awful lot of hard lock stories on that round course. So for me, on the straight course, I'm looking for what I think is the fastest horse, and I'll take my chances with the draw. You'd also think with the draw, you want to kind of hedge your bets. It's no good backing 3 in a race if they're drawn 4, 5 and 6, because if you're on the wrong side of the draw, it doesn't matter. You have to kind of think, right, what have I got in the first 10? What have I got in the second 10? And try and think it through. There's a lot of jockeys to follow. There's jockeys who ride Ascot better than others. We'll perhaps come to a really good each way stat later on, but just enjoy it. But the good thing is with Ascot, there's 35 races.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a bet in every race, but you will more than likely, if you're following your form and you're working hard, you'll get 2 or 3 runners a week that will run their race and they'll deliver the goods.
I think the good thing as well about Ascot, isn't it, sort of, which isn't always the case at Cheltenham, if you do back a winner, because the fields are bigger, you actually get rewarded for it. So often at Cheltenham we see these small fields, odds-on favourites, whereas at Royal Ascot, if you do back a winner, you actually are getting rewarded properly, which I think that's for punters, I think that's a real benefit in that sense.
What about the first race of Tuesday? I mean, Tuesday looks amazing, doesn't it? The Queen Anne Stakes, Rosalien 5-2 at the moment with Fitzdare's favourite Lisa Market, Dancing Gemini 4-1, Notable Speech 9-2, Lead Artist 5-1, and Sardinian Warrior 15-2. Anything jump out at you there?
This is a very difficult race to start the week. Normally the Queen Anne, you'd think, there'll be a good thing in here. I mean, if we look at the race, 9 of the last 19 favourites have won. 13 of the 19 were 4-year-olds. So the older horses don't have a great record. And I don't like to speak in general terms, but when an older horse wins it tends to be a below par renewal. 13 and 19 were colts as well, so that the boys have quite a good record in this. But I guess with this race, you kind of I don't want to start the week by saying the favourite's a good thing, but Rosalien is going to be hard to beat. I thought the way the race panned out in the Lockinge at Newbury really suited Dancing Gemini and Lead Artist. And at the 2 furlong pole, if you watch the race back, Rosalien and Notable Speech are cantering. And I thought, here we go. One of the star 3-year-olds from last season will pick them up. And they both looked like they just needed the run and blew up in the final furlong. Rosalien had a much longer stride than Lead Artist and Dancing Gemini. Peak average of 24.69 feet. A longer stride up the Ascot Hill will help him, particularly in the straight, because he's going to be able to get into a rhythm. And as he starts to lengthen, I think he'll pick the other 2 up. I'd be against Dancing Gemini, and the reason I'm kind of against him, he's a lovely horse. Second in the Lockinge, I'd love to own him. But if you look at the Lockinge, in terms of the top speed the horses ran, Dancing Gemini was slower than the 3rd, 4th and 5th. He was just in the right place and he was race fit. Because he won the same races that Charin won last year at the start of the season, everyone thinks he's Charin 2.0. I'm not convinced he is. Now, the key with Dancing Gemini will be who rides him. If Ryan Moore rides him, he'll be too short. Because
something I wanted to talk about last week, but obviously I wasn't here, is the influence of Ryan on the price. And I think you were saying earlier, it's a bit of an intangible from a data perspective, but what difference can that make in the market, having Ryan choosing to ride?
It will definitely make a difference, particularly in the first race, because lots of people, sometimes me included, think, I'll have a lucky 63 on the first day, Ryan Moore, and if I throw those in, I might get 3 or 4 winners. But what that then means is that there's an enormous liability on the first horse. So the price can probably be short. It was, as we saw at the weekend in the Derby.
Yeah.
Ryan chose to ride Delacroix. Delacroix goes off a short price favourite, despite the fact that the draw was kind of against him. I listened to last week's show. I know people rag on the Chester form, but Lambourne
The Chester form stood up very well, didn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Ryan doesn't always get it right. You usually think, of course, Ryan Moore's going to choose the best horse with the best chance of winning. But obviously, he got it wrong in the Derby. He's got it wrong before. Yeah, I mean, this is shameful after timing, but on a couple of podcast appearances, I might have put Lambourne up at 20-1. But we'll wedge that in. But it is important to remember that Ryan won't always get it right. He is without doubt the world's best jockey. Yeah. If Dancing Gemini is good enough, it will win with Ryan Moore on board. But I would suggest he's not good enough. But I can't start the week by telling you that the favourite is going to win. So I'm going to go swinging in the first race, and we'll see how we get on. I like a horse called Coudoir, who is a double-figure price. I'm sure the guys can share that for me. He was 4th in the QE2 in October, but he was just slowly away. 9.8 seconds it took him to reach 30 miles an hour. Now, it was soft ground, and you might think, 9.8 seconds, not every car can do that. But actually, in horse racing terms, if you lose a couple of seconds at the start, you're asking an awful lot, particularly on softer ground. So we'll forgive him that, because he was actually the fastest horse in furlongs 5 and 6. So he was making up ground. He just had too much to do, and he didn't have enough left.
20-1.
Yeah,
Coudoir.
Good way to start the week. That would be.
Let's have a little each way on him. And I love my French form. He won the Prix de Montretout at Paris Longchamp. Okay. Now the race form is questionable because Hartem was sent over Richard Hannon. Hartem doesn't look like he's trained on this year, so that form is a bit questionable. Coudoir controlled the place at the start, but he had a top speed of 66.5 kilometres an hour. That was the fastest in the race. And he ran 10.82 seconds for the penultimate furlong. Everyone talks about 11 seconds as the magic sectional. If you can find a horse that runs sub 11 second furlongs, they're good. You just can't. Bad horses do not go sub 11 seconds. Okay. And he did that at Paris Longchamp, kicking from the front. I think he's being overlooked in the market, and I'd rather back him each way than lump into Rosalie at the short price.
The Coventry Stakes is a race for 2-year-olds, isn't it? I know you're not so strong on this particular race in terms of a tip, but with 2-year-olds in general, how do you analyse them? Because obviously, for obvious reasons, there's less data, and does it wildly fluctuate from one race to the next? I.e., those top speeds you're talking about, or the stride lengths, can they change, or does once a horse is running a race, that is their style and that's it?
You really, really have to be so careful with 2-year-olds. I would freely admit I'm not the best judge of a 2-year-old race, and I think I can count the Royal Ascot 2-year-old winners I've backed on one hand in terms of that. But I would tend to look, and you've got to think with a 2-year-old, it's like if you watch under-10s football. Lots of players will play under-10s football, and some will look brilliant because they're ready and they understand the game. Others might not be any good at under-10s level, but by the time they get to the under-15s, they've had more experience, they're better players. So, and it's the same with 2-year-olds. A lot of them, it's a big experience for them, particularly Royal Ascot. Yeah. If you're a 2-year-old, a juvenile horse, you might have had 1 or 2 runs. Suddenly you're at Ascot, 70,000 people, all the noise around the paddock, and you've got to gallop down the straight past all the crowds. Particularly the races that are later in the day, it's a bit noisy. We all know everyone goes to Ascot, has a few bevies. I didn't know that. Well, maybe not you, Clarkey, but the rest of us might have the odd bit.
If we were trying to, solve the 2-year-old puzzle, and I'll freely admit that I think this is more of a watch and enjoy race for me because it's a bit of a guessing game. But if we're trying to solve the puzzle, would Wafnan be a good place to look? Because their record with 2-year-olds is amazing. 24% win rate with 2-year-olds on turf this year. Is that kind of a strategy you could take for a race like this?
You could definitely say that. We spoke about it off air. I think someone described it as Wafnan are playing football manager.
They definitely are, aren't they?
And it is that kind of approach that their view is much more here and now. Let's buy a horse that can win at Royal Ascot. Let's buy a horse that might win a Group 1. Rather than some of the more traditional approaches like Ballydoyle, where they're breeding and they're always thinking about where's our next stallion coming from. Yeah. Wafnan are thinking, can we get in the winners?
So who they got in this race?
They have Underwriter, who was a very interesting entry. I thought his win at Ayr was very impressive. James Doyle got off and seemed to be kind of, here we go, this sounds like a good one. What he beat at Ayr is open to question, and I'd certainly say my notes on that were that the 3rd and 4th really weren't ready for the occasion. So we don't know.
He's a 14-1 shot, and you mentioned James Doyle there. We were talking about jockeys earlier. Obviously, Wafnan retained James. He's not a bad pilot, is he, to have on your side as well, especially at Royal Ascot.
Yeah, I'd be always looking for. it's not a coincidence that the Group 1 races and the big races at Royal Ascot are won by the good jockeys.
Okay.
I don't mean to say some jockeys are better than others. They are, but it's not picking anyone in particular. But in the pressure moments, the experience counts for a lot. And
getting into the right position.
Exactly. If you're in the right position. And it's also knowing when you're in the wrong position. If the pace is one side and you're the other, it's knowing I've got to go now. Whereas you'll see a huge number of horses next week that you'll think, it's finishing like a steam train, but it's because they're in the wrong place.
I know. Sorry, I was just going to say, I know why you're swerving this race, and Adam is too. Last year's winner was 80-1. Year before was 11-8 favourite. Then you go back 8-1, 11-1, and 150-1. Shot won this in 2020.
Nando Parado.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and it was one of those.
Think about the second actually.
I believe that was in the COVID year. Yeah. But it's lucky it was in the COVID year, because had it not been in the COVID year with a full crowd, there would have been silence. There's this 150-1 shot wins, and everyone looks and goes, "What?"
It's that feeling. It's that Royal Ascot feeling where you come in with so much optimism, and then favourite gets beat in the first race.
Don't ever be put off by a price at Royal Ascot.
Okay.
If you fancy something that's 125s, doesn't matter. It's a straight course, and if they're going to run in a straight line, they're going to have a great chance. Okay. Just to finish off on Wathnan, so they're trying to buy it. Whether you agree with that or not, they've had 31 runners. 19 of those have hit the frame. If you back all their horses a pound each way, you make £45.26 profit to that pound. But they're above expected figure, which is kind of what the market thinks they should have. Yeah. So if they were bang on with the market, they'd be 1. They're 1.7. So their runners run 70% better than the market would suggest.
And that is just historically at Royal Ascot.
That's just Royal Ascot.
How many years are we talking there?
Since 2023.
Oh, so
is that their first?
Like that. So it's only 2 or 3 years. They got lucky. Well, they didn't get lucky, but they won the Gold Cup the first year. And that really inspired them. But they've had lots of good horses run there, and each year they are getting stronger and stronger.
Okay.
Seems like a good strategy.
Definitely. Yeah, look, my ears are pricked. That is for sure. The King Charles III, I know that you got a fancy for this one.
I have a little fancy for this one, yes. Now, look, this is ridiculously difficult. 5 furlong Group 1 sprint, massive field. Last year's winner was Asphora. If you watch her run, I watched the replay back when I was doing my notes earlier this week, and at the 2 furlong pole, I still can't believe she won. Because she drifts right across the track from one side to the other, and you think, this can't win, and it does. It's very, very difficult to find the winner of this. 10 of the last 19 winners had not won over 5 furlongs before, which for a Group 1 race is just bizarre. But the Ascot 5 furlongs is quite stiff, so you need a horse that stays really well. They're putting the blinkers on last year's winner, so I wouldn't put you off Asphora. Same with Believing, but this is another race where I just think I want to have a little sort of... I'd rather start the first day with big prices, and then if I'm struggling, I can back favourites behind me anyway. But
I've got a question about Believing. So I actually heard that she's in foal, and I know that's a strategy sometimes trainers take with fillies and mares, but I was just wondering, is there any data to back up whether it actually improves their performance when they're in foal?
No. It's the honest answer. It doesn't have a detrimental effect.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they're still going, bearing in mind that she's in foal, but I can understand why she was so impressive in Dubai.
Yeah.
But it isn't something we can tangibly measure. I'll be very careful what I say now, but if you imagine, I've got children, so I know that my partner was different with one pregnancy to another in terms of life. So it's the exact same with horses that we don't necessarily put on it, but it shouldn't put you off.
It's more of an old wives' tale then.
It is to a point, and it's not like she's running and she's due next week. So it's something just to bear in mind. But this is a really difficult race. There's loads of pace here. This is going to be end-to-end gallop. I'm going to go swinging again. I like the price of Magira for Ed Walker. Now, last year's form, this horse has no place in a Group 1, but joined Ed Walker. It's won both starts. The first start was in the Prix Saint-Georges at Paris-Longchamp. Winning time was 54.95 seconds. That's the fastest time in this race going back to 2011 when the France Gallop records are there. Now, the ground was very fast, so it helped. I thought, because I spent a lot of time looking at French racing, I thought, the draw on the straight course at Paris-Longchamp is horrendous. The first 5 places were filled by the horses drawn 1 to 5. So Julie, I thought, we can take this form on. Laid Magira for a place at Haydock, and he duly won, so that made me look a fool, and but they're wrong more than I'm right. But he's had the fastest top speed in both races, 42.5 miles an hour at Haydock. had the fastest run-out speed. Run-out speed is the speed we measure 2 seconds after the horse has crossed the line.
Okay.
So it's kind of how much energy have they got left once they've finished.
Interesting.
And he was still the fastest there. He's just a different horse with Ed Walker, completely different, travels strongly. He will look like the winner at the 2 furlong pole. Whether he then goes through with it and wins is open to debate, but you're getting a good price.
It's so funny, isn't it? It's like footballers with certain managers, like just a better. I always can't believe that horses with certain trainers are the same. I suppose it's just the way that they work, is it? I guess behind the scenes.
It can be anything.
Yeah.
It can be the way that they're trained. It can be the direction the gallops go in. Some trainers...
Tell me it's not just an arm around the shoulder.
Well, no, but it might be. Because actually, horses are like people. They're moody. They have good days. They have bad
So
days.
it's a little pat on the...
Some
Blow
horses...
Hong Kong.
Yeah, so some horses need to be trained every day and pushed really hard because that's what they enjoy. Other horses, maybe they need to gallop once a week.
Is that how our
And they just need a yard.
Gentle.
Yeah.
Oh, I needed the arm around the shoulder, no doubt about that. That's funny. The St James's Palace states that. Now that looks a race. Absolute cracker. I mean, first of all, Lola, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a 3-way Guineas tussle.
Yeah.
We've got the winner of the Newmarket Guineas, the Irish Guineas, and the French Guineas, and they're the top 3 in the betting. Field of Gold is the 4 to 5 favourite. And with this horse, obviously very impressive the way it won the Guineas in Ireland, but it's awfully short. Short here. And we're over the jockey dramas. Kieran Schumacher's not going to ride it. Colin Keane's going to ride. But yeah, I just wonder if Ruling Court's maybe not getting the credit he deserves for winning the Guineas. What do you think?
There's a view taken that Ruling Court was a lucky winner of the Guineas. And I think if they ran the Guineas again and Kieran Schumacher had his time again, he'd ride Field of Gold completely differently.
Yeah.
And he'd just go. Because Field of Gold definitely finished that race better than Ruling Court, faster final furlong, hit the line much stronger. So there is that. Ruling Court is also kind of, everyone's assumed this horse wasn't going to run because he was in the Derby on Saturday. They made a late call to pull him out of the Derby, probably in part because their Oaks favourite, Desert Flower, ran no race at all and they decided to reroute here. I would not back Field of Gold at odds on.
Yeah.
Although I do think he's the best horse in the race, but I just think that's a bit short and this is deep.
Yeah.
I wrote down, what if the market's got the Guineas form in the wrong order? And that French Guineas is stronger than people think. It was a track record, 133.91. Henri Matisse won that, narrowly beat Jonquil. The third was Camille Pizarro, who's won the British Jockey Club, which is the French Derby. Yeah. You're getting a much better price about Henri Matisse and even Jonquil than you are the other two. There is a chance that Field of Gold is the superstar. And I think if we're all honest, he looks to be the best 3-year-old colt this season.
I was just going to say about him too. Would you not worry slightly if the ground did come up really quick too? Like, I'm not sure what the forecast is, to be fair, but if it came up like rattling, I think you'd worry a little bit about him, wouldn't you? His best forms come when there's been a bit of juice in the ground. And yeah, like you say, 4 to 5, probably going to drift, isn't it? I think you'll get a bigger price on the day about him, particularly, like I say, if there isn't much rain around. Henri Matisse, 3 to 1. You're getting a much bigger price there about a horse, like you say, if you really fancy that French Guineas form.
Who's got the best top speed of those 3 Guineas winners?
Field of Gold, but it's worth bearing in mind, Field of Gold ran at the Curragh. That ground was quite quick. The Curragh's a lot easier to get a faster top speed because you've got a longer straight. People often forget that St James's Palace is on the round course. This is not on the straight course, so it is a little bit more tricky.
That comes into my thinking with Field of Gold. It is going to be a different jockey, but obviously he got in traffic problems in the Newmarket Guineas.
You're so polite.
Yeah, it's a very kind way of saying.
Got boxed in, and at the Curragh, I think Colin Keane sort of purposefully looked like he kept him out of trouble. He stayed wide, had a clear run, and coming around the bend here, there might be a bit of argy-bargy.
Can I just ask? This might be a really stupid question, but in terms of like getting stuck in a bad position and traffic and whatnot, the jockeys always get the blame or the praise for that. But horses are intelligent as well. Surely you get the horses can intuitively see gaps and go for it, right? Or
in
not?
Theory, but it's also important to remember horse is an animal, and by nature they're pack animals. So not every horse will want to be out on its own in front.
Got it. Okay.
Quite often they're quite happy to take a lead. and it'll help them settle and they'll help them travel better. But then the downside to that is they can settle and travel, and then you've got to ask them, right, now you need to go past.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've all backed horses where you think, oh, this can't get beat.
And some don't like it. You know, you see a horse like now I can't remember, a Hoy Seigneur bowling along in front, ears pricked, obviously loves it. And then
when something
you see
goes past it, that's it. When something looms alongside, that's
but then you see other horses boxed in, ears pinned back, and they hate it. So you know, you just don't know, and that's another doubt.
Right. We can't cover everything because we're running out of time, sadly. But Wednesday, what stands out for you?
Well, we've got a group race. The Group 1 race is the Prince of Wales. I mean, this is a race that the market generally gets right. 17 of the last 19 winners were the first 3 in the betting.
Wow. Okay.
18 of the 19 were 4 or 5-year-olds. You can pretty much rule out the older horses. I'll say that, and then there'll be a 7-year-old bolt up next week. But it's not that straightforward this year. Personally, I thought Luxembourg was the wrong price. I think he's too short. He has won the Tats Gold Cup.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, sorry, not Lola. I'm getting
way
Wayne O'Brien. Sorry, I was confused there.
Same colours.
It was just tested. Los Angeles has won the Tats Gold Cup at the Curragh, but Anmart ran in that race, and he was further back than Los Angeles, and he was faster than Los Angeles over the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th furlongs. Made up a lot of ground, just didn't quite get there. He won the Champion Stakes at Ascot back in October. Beat Calandagan, broke my heart. Calandagan continues to break my heart. It's very difficult. I always think Calandagan's like the ex-missus. You look and think, oh, I remember why I liked you. And then when they let you down, you go, oh, yeah, that's why I didn't like you. But these things happen. But Anmart's got a lot of good form, and I felt they should probably be the same price.
Guys, I've got an exclusive for you.
Okay.
I've heard some whispers from over the Irish Sea, some whispers on the Curragh that Los Angeles isn't running.
Is it bullish, or are you sort of suggesting, like, is it
no, I've heard
certainty?
it factually. It's just, you know, and I think this is a very reliable source. I do. They get most things right. But yeah, I'm just putting it out there. That's go and get on Anmat at that price.
Let's
you
just
can.
pause the podcast and we'll all lump into
yeah.
before that news breaks.
Well, on that bombshell, let's move on to the other really, really big race, the Ascot Gold Cup, which I find really interesting because it's a longer race, and you've got horses in there that have got a little bit of history. I mean, what do you think, Henry?
Yeah, Adam, I did want to ask you about this race specifically, actually. So Illinois, 5-4 favourite at the moment. It's kind of a case of the improver, isn't it? The young improver against some of the sort of more seasoned professionals. So the St. Ledger form from last year looks pretty strong, doesn't it? Jan Bruegel obviously won Epsom on Friday last week. Illinois was only beaten a neck by him last season. Do you just think 5-4 when he's not been further than a mile 7 is quite short? And you've got Trawlerman in there, 4-1, who's been there, done it before.
Second last year, right?
Ran really well last year. Only lost a length, I think, to Kyprios, who we all know is the star there, and he would be odds on if he was running here. What was kind of your view on this race?
Really difficult race because Kyprios coming out.
Yeah.
Kind of at the start of the year, I said, well, Kyprios will win this at 2-7.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. Illinois, I think, has been rerouted because he is the most obvious horse who's likely to stay the trip.
Yeah.
Not really sure I want to take that price, although it's Chester form, which, you know,
looks
like it's working out. This is a difficult race to assess because you've got some French form coming in, and Candelari could be anything.
Yeah.
I don't really like that phrase because it's kind of, obviously could be anything, but it's he looks to me like the coming star, and it's difficult to say because French racing, it's not the greatest cliche, but it's slowly run and it develops into a sprint. Yeah. Almost every time, and Candelari's form is exactly that. He stays 2 miles, but he can sprint and the others can't. So when we look at Candelari and we look at what he's achieved, 40.64 miles an hour he ran at Longchamp. If this develops into a sprint finish, he'll win because he's faster than these. You know, you don't run over 2 mile 4 unless you really stay well. But surely one of the other horses is going to know that, and then they're going to
drag the stamina out.
So what will almost certainly happen is Ballydor Fancy Illinois, they will put something in as a pacemaker to make sure they don't go a crawl.
Okay.
Let's have a look. Yeah, maybe Continuous will take them along.
Yeah, poor old Continuous. Just a Group 1 horse, and he's now nothing better than a pacemaker, poor lad. I do like Candelari. If they're going slow, I'll back Candelari in running. The other one, if they go fast, is a French horse called Savannah's Night for Andre Fabre. completely being forgotten about. His record at distances of 2 miles is 4:46.11122. But he's the opposite of Candelari. He can't sprint. Bless him. And he travels down the hill every time and think, he's going to do this, as I thought last time at Paris Longchamp. And he just didn't have the speed. But if they go hard, he'll stay forever. And he's another one who's a double figure price. And you might just want to have a swing. The more rain, the better.
12-1, Adam, about that one. So,
okay. Whets the appetite, doesn't it? I do love Royal Ascot. I've never been. I don't think I'm going to go this year. I think I'm a bit late for that, but maybe next year. It's definitely on my bucket list. Time's beating us, Adam, unbelievably. So thank you so much for coming in. Some brilliant insights there.
Can we just ask you, Adam, for a nap of the week before you go? Because that's what the listeners want to hear,
Yeah, this
isn't
is
it?
true.
Adam's nap of the week.
Okay, I'm going to give you a nap of the week, which we haven't actually discussed, but it runs on the Saturday in the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes. There's a French horse trained by Jerome Rainier called Lazat, who I would sell my left kidney to own a share in. Lazat. Absolutely love the horse from the moment he started running at Cancermere last year. He's already a Group 1 winner. They experimented over a mile over the winter, going to Australia and Sha Tin in Hong Kong. It didn't work. They've come back to 6 furlongs. He absolutely hacked up at Shanti. It's very difficult to be a 3-year-old gelding. Understandably, because you've had the cruelest cut of all, as they say. But also, when you're a gelding, you can't run against the colts. Okay. So last year he did well to win his Group 1. This year he looks professional. I think he'll bounce out, and I don't think they'll get to him.
Brilliant.
7-2 about Lazat as well, so we're getting a price there too.
How much does a left kidney cost? Welcome back. If you'd like to place a bet on any of the events discussed on this show, it is pretty easy. Just visit fitstairs.com. Fitstairs also have an app, as well as a telephone and text betting service. Just give them a call. You can get prices on pretty much any market, as well as special bets as well. 0207 851 5407 is the number. You can text the office on 07492 882 213. The magic word to quote is Boodles. If you say this when you call or text, you'll get a generous and exclusive price boost, and the brokers are going to be generous, I'm told. So max 1 price boost per person must be used at odds of evens or greater. Got to be over 18. Please bet responsibly. Royal Ascot, of course, is just a few furlongs away. As tradition serves, Fitstairs are hosting members in the Churchill Suite on Monday the 16th of June for an evening of racing ahead of the big one. Fitstairs members, just email rsvp@fitstairs.com to let us know if you'd like to join us there. Fitstairs World of Sport is proud to be sponsored by Boodles, the only fine jewellery brand who love sport just as much as you do. Boodles are great champions of British sport, a natural fit for us to partner with them. If you're in London, make sure you check out their flagship store, 178 Bond Street, or you can go on their website. Some great stuff on there. I looked at it the other day, absolutely fantastic. Some really beautiful, stylish jewellery. That's www.boodles.com. Right, what else? Right, what else is going on in the world of sports? It is Fitstairs World of Sport after all. Should we talk golf, Henry?
We should, because it's US Open week, and if you want to feel a bit better about your golf game as a casual golfer, you should tune in to watch the US Open, because it's the one week of the year where you will see pros make 7s, 8s and 9s, because it is so difficult.
I want that. Seriously, I like that as a golf viewer.
Same.
I want to see these really hard holes.
Yeah. And we're at Oakmont Country Club this week, and pars are going to be at a premium. Okay. So, just a quick run through the prices. Scheffler is 5-2 fav. Bryson DeChambeau 13-2. John Rahm's 10-1. McIlroy 11-1. Ludwig Åberg 20-1. Schauffele 20-1. And it's 22-1 bar. But yeah, I mean,
Scheffler's a worthy favourite.
He's 5-2, but this is actually the shortest price anyone has been for any major since Tiger Woods in 2009. Okay. So this is short.
He's in Tiger-like form though, right?
He is, yeah. I mean, he's won 3 of his last 4. Yeah. It just looks so easy for him, didn't it, at the Memorial? And he just doesn't have any flaws in his game, and I suppose that's what you need, isn't it? US Open, but this course, like I say, it is difficult, really hard. There's 5-inch thick rough. There's one of the par 3s is 289 yards. I mean, we're all hitting driver there, aren't we? And I'm still not reaching even the driver. Yeah. And the greens are absolutely lightning too. So I think the experts are saying if if the rain that's forecast doesn't materialise, and the greens don't soften up a little bit, we're going to see a winning score of over par, which
I'm all for that.
Yeah, completely. I think when Cabrera won it in 2007, 5 over was actually the winning total. So we're not going to see a super low score here.
Lola's favourite Rory has finished in the top 10 at the US Open in each of the last 6 years. But he can't
keep it on the planet though at the moment, can he, with his driver? Literally, if you told us after he won the Masters he'd be 11-1 to win the US Open, we'd have all
I'm
said
going to
you're
renege
crazy.
on my theory that him having the monkey off his back is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think he's getting complacent.
I think he's pretty much admitted that. Obviously, he's had these driver issues. He's been forced to sort of change his driver, hasn't he? Big hitters tend to do well at this course and at the US Open on average. All 9 winners of the last 9 years since 2016 have averaged 6.1 in the driving distance stakes in the field. So they've all been long hitters in that field, which is quite remarkable, really. So I'm kind of looking at some big hitters. The Chilean is interesting, isn't he?
Yeah.
Neiman keeps winning on the Live Tour.
Yeah, I'd say outside of Bryson, he's probably the one that's done the best since moving to Live. He's really solid, isn't he? And I think Oakmont's going to be a little bit different in the sense that it's not as long as, say, a Wingfoot or some of the other courses on the US Open rotor, but you're still going to have to hit it long, but more importantly, you're going to have to hit it straight.
He's earned more money than any other golfer on the planet.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah, he's not done too badly since the move over to Live.
Yeah, maybe a bit of complacency for Neiman. Have you, any other sort of outsiders outside of Scheffler that sort of catch your eye?
Yeah, I thought Shane Lowry's playing well at the moment.
Okay.
He played well last week, and again, he actually led after 54 holes in 2016 by 4 shots, and the last time the US Open was held here. Kind of fell away a bit on Sunday, allowed Dustin Johnson to come in and win, but he's a much better player than he was back in 2016, and if he's up there, I think, he's not gonna fall away this year. Do have one, but I'm going to save it for my 3 tennis pick.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward to watching it, to be honest, 'cause I think, like you say, it's a proper test, and that's what we want to see.
Absolutely. Lola, what are you looking forward to watching?
Well, in terms of the world of sport, it doesn't get that much more on brand than the Club World Cup, which is kicking off on 1 a.m. Sunday morning in Miami. And if it sounds like I'm struggling to be enthusiastic about it, it's because I'm having a big internal struggle about this.
Right.
Like, when you look at the prize money, which is each club, the winner will get 97 million from a total of 774 million pounds prize money. And I think this is a little bit like the World Cup in Qatar. It's one of those things where you can say, ideologically, I'm opposed to it, but at the end of the day, the entertainment, I do expect it to be, proper football matches.
Yeah, it's curious as well. I am kind of interested to see how Inter Miami will stack up against Inter Milan or whatever. It's
and the
interesting.
big, the big South American clubs. I think the best thing for FIFA, and I'm not sitting here hoping that good things happen to them, but is if the Boca Juniors end looks absolutely mad, or if the Flamengo fans have some incredible tifo. Like, it is, as a football fan, it piques your curiosity to have these big South American teams.
And in a
in the
year
mix.
where there's no major international tournament too, we're all going to be starved of football over the summer. You won't have to worry about that. In summer.
I'll give you some odds. Real Madrid 4-1 favourites, PSG 9-2, Manchester City 5s, Bayern Munich 13-2, Chelsea 11, Inter and Atletico 14-1. What's the common theme there? European nations, of course. The lowest price you'll get on a non-Champions League side of Flamengo and Palmeiras, 33-1 apiece. Boca and River Plate from Argentina are both 40-1 shots. I mean, I don't think we expect any of those to win, do we?
The form of the European sides is going to be really interesting, because I think you can look at the top 3 or 4 in the market. Actually, all of these European sides that you've mentioned. With Real, they've got a new manager. So is it going to be like pre-season for them?
Yeah, but they're going to be keen to impress, aren't they?
Yeah.
I've heard they've got a decent right back, Lola, playing for them.
I'm not even going to talk about him. I'm just never going to talk about him again. And then PSG, they've just won the Champions League, so their players are done pretty much.
But also very good.
Yeah, but why would you? If you can take me into the players' mentality here. If you just won the biggest prize in world football, and then you were asked to go again,
well, it isn't.
We're not
the
even a
biggest
month
prize.
later.
They're European champions now. They want to be world champions.
Yeah, but so would you really want it? Is that what you're telling me?
Did you see how Portugal celebrated the nation?
I think
Ronaldo.
as a pro, I think you'd want to win every competition.
I think as fans we poo-poo it, but and as players,
my team are playing it. I think it's a great event.
No, I genuinely think the players probably would rather go on holiday.
Yeah.
But once they're there, of course they want to win it because it comes around once every 4 years. It's a great thing to have on your CV. They're all in it to win something.
I just think you can poke holes in the prices of the top two, and then Bayern, I think you can poke a big hole in because Company hasn't really proved it at the top level for me in knockout competition. City are really interesting though because they've signed a whole bunch. City and Chelsea have both taken advantage of this mini window to sign players for the tournament. So I think those prices are interesting on that basis.
Yeah, just a final word. Is it really the Club World Cup when Liverpool, Barcelona and Arsenal aren't in it? That's all I'm saying. The Saudi champions, Al Ittihad, not in it. 2 of the last 4 from the Copa Libertadores, not in it. It's a flawed setup.
Chelsea are in it.
I think it looks a bit like a Super League, Clarkey, to be honest. But yeah.
Okay, let's play the 3 tenors now. Every week on the show we discuss a trio of sporting events, and at the end of the pod we get a tenner each to place with Fitstairs. We'll keep a running league table of our performance throughout the season. Congrats to Henry, landed that massive price on Carlos Alcaraz. That was a grand total of £10.50, so well played you. You're up to £22.50. I'm on 35 quid. Lola is out in front on 77.70. Very quickly, because time's against us. Henry, who you got?
I'm going to go to the US Open, and I'm going to have my £5 each way on Ludwig Aberg to win. He's at 20-1 right now. Fitstairs are paying 8 places. Doesn't have any major flaws in his game. He'll make plenty of pars. I think that's what you're going to need to do around here. He's long enough to sort of get it round here. He's a straight hitter, and also he's an early starter today, and I think that's going to be a big benefit. The course will be a bit softer, play a bit easier. When it dries out, it's going to get tough this afternoon.
If he has a good first round, I basically, for any US Open bet, would wait until after day one, because you could probably play your way out of it with an 80 odd or something. If you're sort of there or thereabouts. With Oberg,
you just have to sacrifice your place terms at that point. But
I think Oberg's a good shout. For me, I'm looking at the F1. It's getting very exciting. It's a good championship. Verstappen obviously got punished for knocking George Russell off the road the other day, or in the last race in Spain. I like George Russell here, 5 each way at 20-1, which I think is a massive price for a consistent driver. Fitstairs will pay 3 places as well. I think he can get on the podium here. He's got 4 podiums from 9 races so far, and from what I gather, Mercedes, it might be the kind of track that they like. So George Russell for me, it'd be quite a good story as well. He was the victim last time out. It'd be nice for him to get his own back. Lola.
Well, we might see some big movement on the leaderboard this week if you guys can land those. We'll see.
Please.
Yeah, going for some big prices this week. Yeah.
I'm going for Man City to win the Club World Cup at 5-1 for some of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. I think you can pick big holes in Real Madrid and PSG, the top 2 in the market. City are going to be well rested because they kind of had it pretty easy in the run-in in the end. And they've signed 3 new players. They've signed Rayan Aït-Nouri from Wolves. And Wolves were safe early in the season, so he's had his feet up. Rayan Cherki from Lyon, who everyone's going absolutely nuts about. I don't know if you saw him for France.
Oh, he's fantastic, yeah.
Not as good as Florian Wirtz.
And they signed 3 players for the same amount as Liverpool have paid for Wirtz.
And spent a cool, I think it's, I need to get this right, I think it's 278 million they've spent in 2025. Poor old City, but they've made
hungry.
They've made signings for this. They're going for it. So I think 5-1's a good price.
Good luck to everybody. The tenors are in. Right, that's all we've got time for, I'm afraid, on Fitstairs World of Sport. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, please do let someone know. Other ways to help us are by giving us a nice review or just tell a friend. We're on YouTube as well, remember. Tens of thousands of you have been catching up with the show on YouTube, which is absolutely brilliant. It's great to have everybody on board. And look, if you'd like to find out more about Fitstairs or any of the offers you've heard here, just visit the website fitstairs.com. Remember, the prices you've heard here are subject to change. It's 18 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Have a great week, guys. Lots of good sport to look forward to. Really, really enjoyed today's show. That was Fitstairs World of Sport. I'm Adrian Clark. Your producer was Simon Watts. Here with me in the studio today were Lola Katz-Roberts and Henry Beasley, and of course the brilliant Adam Mills from Total Performance Data. Fitzdare's World of Sport is a track record production, and we'll be back next week. Thanks for listening. See you then.